Part 1. The Forbidden Door. A simple wooden door can hide the darkest monsters in the world. I live in a beautiful, quiet house with my husband, Liam. He is a very successful, handsome, and hardworking man. Our life looks completely perfect from the outside. But a terrible nightmare lives inside our home. The nightmare hides behind the white door in our hallway. It is the door to the underground basement. Liam placed a heavy metal padlock on it. He created one absolute, terrifying rule for our marriage. I am never allowed to go near the basement door. If I walk too close to the hallway, his behavior changes instantly. The gentle, loving husband disappears completely. He becomes a violent, angry stranger. His eyes turn dark and full of pure rage. He shouts terrible insults and physically drags me away from the area. I live in constant, heavy fear of his sudden violence. I believe he is hiding a horrible crime in the dark basement. I think he murdered a mistress or hid a stolen treasure. I walk around my own house like a terrified, trapped prisoner. One afternoon, Liam was working in the garden. I slowly walked toward the forbidden white door. I did not touch the heavy padlock. I just looked closely at the white paint. My heart stopped completely. A tiny, hidden message was scratched into the wood. The letters were very small and frantic. Do not open it. You will die. I stared at the warning in pure shock. The handwriting was not messy or unknown. It was my exact, perfect handwriting. But I had absolutely no memory of writing those terrifying words. A heavy hand suddenly grabbed my shoulder. Liam pulled me backward with incredible, violent force. I fell hard onto the wooden floor. Pain exploded in my shoulder. I looked up, terrified of his angry face. He raised his hand to strike me again. A loud, sharp slap hit my cheek. I tasted warm blood in my mouth. But the most shocking detail was not the physical pain. It was Liam's face. He was hitting me with absolute fury, but heavy, wet tears were pouring down his cheeks. He was crying bitterly. Part 2. The Missing Girl. The physical bruises on my arms turned dark purple and yellow. I stayed in my bedroom, completely avoiding the terrifying hallway. The fear was slowly destroying my mind. I needed to understand why my husband cried while he punished me. The entire situation felt incredibly unnatural. I started searching the house for hidden clues. I looked through old books and dusty photo albums in the living room. I opened a heavy dictionary on the bottom shelf. A small, colorful piece of paper fell onto the carpet. It was a child's drawing. The drawing showed a happy family standing near a blue car. A small, messy signature was written at the bottom with a red crayon. Lily. My chest felt suddenly tight and heavy. An invisible weight crushed my lungs. The name felt incredibly familiar, but my mind remained completely blank. Liam walked into the living room, holding a cup of coffee. I held the drawing up for him to see. Who is Lily? A simple, quiet question left my lips. The coffee cup slipped from his hands, shattering loudly on the floor. Hot liquid splashed everywhere. Liam's face turned as white as a ghost. Pure, absolute panic flashed in his dark eyes. He snatched the drawing from my hands violently. He threw the fragile paper directly into the burning fireplace. We do not have a child. Stop imagining things. His voice shook with intense fear. He left the house immediately, driving away very fast. I was completely alone with my dark suspicions. He was definitely hiding the body of a little girl named Lily in our basement. I needed to find the key to the heavy padlock. I needed to expose his crime. I cleaned the spilled coffee from the kitchen floor. My hand brushed against the bottom of the wooden cabinet. I felt a small, hard object taped underneath the wood. I pulled it free. It was a small silver key. My heart hammered violently against my ribs. The key to the dark basement was finally in my hands. I held the cold metal tightly. I decided to uncover his terrible, bloody secret. I was ready to face the monster hiding in the dark. Part 3. The Secret Call. I waited nervously for Liam to leave for his office the next morning. I watched his car disappear down the street. The house was completely silent. I walked slowly toward the forbidden hallway. The heavy metal key felt like burning ice in my sweating palm. I stood in front of the white door. My own scratched handwriting warned me to stay away. I took a deep, shaky breath. Before I unlocked the door, I needed a safety plan. If a dead body was hiding downstairs, Liam would definitely kill me for discovering his secret. I picked up the house phone and dialed the emergency number quickly. The line rang twice before a calm, professional voice answered. Police emergency. Please state your location. I whispered my home address into the receiver, my voice trembling with absolute terror. My husband is a murderer. He is hiding a dead child in our basement. Please send officers immediately. I spoke frantically, begging for urgent help. I expected the dispatcher to sound shocked or worried. I expected immediate, serious action from the local police department. Instead, a heavy, tired sigh came through the phone speaker. Ma'am, is this Maya? The dispatcher asked in a gentle, exhausted voice. I froze completely. I had not given my name to the emergency operator. How did she know my identity? Maya, you need to calm down, the dispatcher continued softly. We told you to stop calling us about the basement. We have sent officers to your house 3 times this year. There is no dead body. The phone dropped from my shaking hand. I stared at the wall in pure, suffocating horror. I had called the police about the basement multiple times before. I had discovered this terrifying secret in the past. But I completely forgot everything. My own mind was erasing my memories. I could not trust my husband. I could not trust the police. And now I could not even trust my own brain. I picked up the silver key. I ignored the dispatcher's warning completely. I pushed the key into the heavy padlock and turned it slowly. Part 4. Descent into Darkness. The heavy metal padlock clicked loudly and fell open. I pushed the white door. It creaked slowly, revealing a dark wooden staircase. I expected a terrible, rotting smell of death to hit my face. I expected to see blood or dark, terrifying shadows hiding in the corners. The air smelled completely clean, like strong chemicals and fresh paint. I reached for the light switch and turned it on. Bright, fluorescent lights instantly illuminated the entire basement. I slowly walked down the wooden stairs, my legs shaking with every single step. The basement was not a dirty, dark torture chamber. It was a perfectly clean, highly organized room. It looked exactly like a professional police investigation office. Massive whiteboards covered the walls, filled with complex notes, red strings, and hundreds of official documents. I walked closer to the main whiteboard. My eyes scanned the terrifying, colorful images pinned to the corkboard. They were not photos of a murdered child in our house. They were professional crime scene photographs of a horrific, violent car accident on a dark, rainy road. A beautiful blue car was completely crushed against a massive tree. The metal was twisted and broken into sharp, ugly pieces. I recognized the blue car instantly. It was my old car. I sold it many years ago, or at least, that is what Liam told me. I looked at the photographs of the ruined interior. The front windshield was completely shattered. Dark, heavy blood stained the steering wheel and the front seats. But the most devastating image was a close-up photo of the back seat. A small, brown teddy bear lay covered in broken glass and dark blood. A tiny pair of pink shoes rested near the crushed car door. The name Lily echoed loudly in my confused, terrified brain. The child was not murdered in this house. She died in that terrible metal trap. I reached out and touched the photograph of the bloody teddy bear. A sudden, sharp pain exploded in my head. I felt dizzy and completely sick to my stomach. Liam was secretly investigating a fatal car crash. He was obsessed with the tragic death of a little girl. Part 5. The Wall of Evidence. Loud, wailing police sirens suddenly echoed outside the house. The dispatcher must have sent a patrol car despite her warning. Red and blue lights flashed through the small basement window. I ignored the sirens completely. I needed to understand the complex wall of evidence before the police entered. I read the official police reports pinned next to the crash photos. The date of the accident was exactly 5 years ago. The report detailed a horrific tragedy. A speeding car lost control on a wet, rainy highway and crashed violently into a large oak tree. A 5-year-old girl named Lily was killed instantly in the back seat. The police report stated a chilling, terrible fact. The driver of the vehicle was heavily intoxicated. The driver was a drunk woman who completely abandoned the crushed car and fled into the dark woods. The identity of the drunk driver was listed as unknown female. The police never caught the woman who killed the innocent child. I read the documents with a growing sense of awe and deep sorrow. Liam was not a violent, evil murderer hiding a body. He was a grieving, dedicated investigator. He spent the last 5 years secretly trying to find the drunk driver who killed Lily. He collected medical files, weather reports, and DNA evidence to solve the cold case. He was fighting for justice in the dark. But why did he beat me? Why did he forbid me from entering the room? A hopeful theory formed in my mind. He was trying to protect me from the ugly, violent truth of the world. He did not want me to see the bloody reality of his secret obsession. Heavy footsteps sounded on the floor above me. The police officers were breaking down the front door. "Maya, are you down there?" A loud, commanding voice echoed down the wooden stairs. I did not answer. I walked toward a small metal desk in the corner of the room. A single, bright red folder rested in the center of the desk. The bold letters on the cover read, "Final DNA results." I reached out with trembling fingers. I was about to discover the true identity of the unknown, drunk killer who destroyed the blue car. Part 6. The Shattered Mirror. The heavy footsteps moved quickly down the wooden basement stairs. 2 armed police officers rushed into the bright room, pointing their flashlights at me. "Step away from the desk, Maya," the tall officer ordered firmly. I did not move. I slowly opened the red folder. The official laboratory document detailed the DNA analysis of the dark blood found on the driver's steering wheel. I traced my finger down the page, looking for the name of the terrible, selfish woman who killed little Lily. My eyes finally found the bold, black text at the bottom. The DNA match was 100% positive. The name printed on the official document was Maya. The massive, horrifying truth exploded in my brain like a violent bomb. I dropped the red folder onto the floor. My entire universe shattered into a million sharp, painful pieces. Liam was not hunting a stranger. He was hiding the ultimate, devastating reality. The unknown, drunk woman who crashed the blue car and fled into the dark woods was me. I was the killer. I murdered the little girl named Lily. And Lily was my own biological daughter. My mind could not handle the crushing weight of the absolute trauma 5 years ago. The horrific guilt of killing my own child caused my brain to completely break. I developed severe dissociative amnesia. My mind actively erased Lily, the car crash, and my terrible crime to protect my sanity. I forgot I was a mother. I forgot I was a killer. I lived in a peaceful, empty illusion. Liam did not build this basement to solve a mystery. He built this room to hide all the evidence of my crime from the police, and more importantly, from me. He collected the police reports and the photos to ensure nobody else found them. He took the blame and cleaned the crime scene to keep me out of prison. He locked my bloody, unforgivable past behind a heavy metal padlock. I fell to my knees on the cold concrete floor. I screamed loudly, tearing at my own hair. The illusion was completely dead. The terrifying monster hiding behind the white door was not my husband. The monster was me. I looked at the mirror on the wall, seeing a murderer. Part 7. The Desperate Shield. The broken memories crashed violently into my empty brain like a massive, dark flood. I suddenly remembered the heavy rain hitting the windshield 5 years ago. I remembered the sweet smell of cheap wine on my own breath. I remembered the loud, terrible sound of breaking glass and twisting metal. I remembered looking into the back seat. I saw my beautiful, tiny daughter covered in dark blood. She was perfectly still. I remembered running away into the cold, dark woods, screaming in pure, selfish cowardice. The heavy guilt crushed my lungs completely. I could not breathe. I looked at the white door at the top of the stairs. The terrifying puzzle of Liam's violent behavior finally made perfect, tragic sense. He did not hit me because he hated me. He hit me because the psychiatrists gave him a very dark, fatal warning 5 years ago. The doctors told Liam that my fragile mind was completely broken. They warned him that if I ever remembered the truth about killing my own daughter, the sudden guilt would destroy me instantly. They said I would undoubtedly commit suicide to escape the horrific pain. He could not legally seal the basement door with concrete because of the city fire codes. He needed a different way to keep me away from the dark truth. He chose to build a massive, psychological wall of pure terror. He used classical conditioning to save my life. Every time I walked near the white door, he acted like a dangerous monster. He dragged me away and hit me to create a severe, deep phobia of the hallway. He intentionally made me hate and fear him. He sacrificed his own soul to build a desperate shield. He absorbed all my hatred. He cried every time he struck my face because it broke his kind, loving heart to hurt me. He gladly played the role of an evil, abusive husband just to keep my mind completely safe from the suicidal truth. I destroyed his daughter, and in return, he destroyed his own life to protect me. The police officers stood quietly in the room, watching me cry on the floor. They already knew the truth. They were just waiting for the terrible storm in my mind to finally end. Part 8. The Tears of a Monster. The sound of screeching tires echoed outside the house. Someone ran frantically through the front door and rushed toward the basement. Liam burst into the bright room, pushing aggressively past the armed police officers. He looked absolutely terrified and completely exhausted. He did not look like an angry, violent monster anymore. He looked like a broken, desperate man who had just lost his entire world. He saw me sitting on the floor, holding the photograph of the bloody teddy bear. He knew the heavy padlock was broken. He knew I remembered everything. Liam fell heavily to his knees in front of me. He did not yell or raise his hand to strike me. He wrapped his strong arms around my shaking body and pulled me tightly against his chest. He buried his face in my neck and began to sob uncontrollably. Loud, agonizing cries of pure sorrow left his lips. "I am so sorry, Maya." He cried bitterly, his tears soaking my shirt. "I tried so hard to keep the door locked. I tried to protect you from the dark. Please do not leave me. Please stay alive." I heard a small plastic object hit the concrete floor. A medical syringe rolled away from Liam's pocket. It was filled with a clear, powerful liquid sedative. He had rushed home to drug me, hoping to force my mind back to sleep before the memories permanently destroyed my brain. He held me tightly, rocking me back and forth like a small, frightened child. The man I feared for 5 years was actually my ultimate, tragic savior. He endured a living hell every single day. He lived with the murderer of his child, just to keep her breathing. I wrapped my arms around his neck, crying with absolute, crushing guilt. I did not deserve his incredible, selfless love. I did not deserve to live in a beautiful house while my little girl slept in a cold grave. The psychological shield was permanently broken. The police officer stepped forward slowly, pulling out a pair of heavy, metal handcuffs. The truth was finally exposed to the bright light. The cold, legal reality was waiting to claim the drunk driver who fled the scene 5 years ago. It was time to pay for my terrible crime. Part 9. The Burden of Truth. A tall police officer walked toward me, holding the metal handcuffs. "Maya, you confessed on the emergency call to discovering a murder." The officer spoke firmly, looking at the evidence on the white bars. "The DNA proves you were the driver. You are under arrest for vehicular manslaughter and fleeing a crime scene." I stood up slowly, ready to accept my absolute, undeniable punishment. I raised my hands, willing to wear the cold metal chains. I wanted to go to a dark prison. I wanted to suffer for destroying Lily and ruining Liam's entire life. It was the only fair ending. Suddenly, Liam stood up and pushed my hands down. He stepped between me and the police officers. He reached into his dark jacket and pulled out a small, black notebook. He handed the book directly to the tall officer with a steady, confident hand. "She is confused. Her mind is completely sick," Liam stated clearly, looking directly at the police. "Read the diary." I wrote everything down. I drugged her drinks 5 years ago. I put her unconscious body in the driver's seat after the crash. I drove the car. The super twist completely paralyzed my brain. I stared at Liam in absolute horror. "No, that is a lie," I screamed, pulling his arm. "I was drinking. I remember the crash." Liam did not look at me. He kept his eyes locked on the serious police officers. She suffers from severe delusions. Liam continued coldly, lying with perfect, terrifying skill. I caused the accident. I killed Lily. I framed my sick wife to escape prison. I built this basement to study my own perfect crime. The diary contains all my detailed confessions. The police officers opened the black notebook. Liam had spent years writing a completely fake, detailed confession. He forged evidence to prove he was a manipulative, evil mastermind. He created a flawless legal document that perfectly framed himself for my terrible crime. He was taking the blame again, right in front of my eyes. He knew I wanted to die because of the guilt. By confessing to the murder and framing me, he was giving me a reason to hate him instead of hating myself. He was giving me a fiery reason to stay alive. Part 10. The Unlocked Mind. The police officers read the fake diary carefully. The legal evidence was incredibly convincing. They slowly put the handcuffs away. They looked at Liam with absolute disgust. They believed his brilliant, tragic lie completely. They grabbed his arms roughly and locked the cold metal chains around his wrists. Liam, no. Please tell them the truth. I cried desperately, grabbing his shirt. The officers pulled him away from me. Liam looked at me one last time. His eyes were completely calm and full of deep, profound love. He smiled a very small, heartbreaking smile. Live a good life, Maya. Hate me forever. He whispered softly as they dragged him up the wooden stairs. The heavy front door slammed shut. The police cars drove away, taking an innocent, heroic man to a dark prison for the rest of his life. I was left completely alone in the bright, silent basement. The ultimate sacrifice was perfectly complete. He accepted eternal punishment just to give my broken mind a reason to survive. But his brilliant, desperate plan contained one massive, fatal flaw. He underestimated the crushing weight of a mother's true memory. I did not hate him. I knew the absolute truth. I was the monster who killed the little girl. I looked at the photograph of the bloody teddy bear on the white wall. I did not call the lawyers to save him. I realized his ultimate punishment for my crime was forcing me to live with the truth. I walked slowly up the wooden stairs. I closed the heavy white door. But I did not lock the padlock on the outside. I locked the door from the inside of the basement. I sat on the top step, completely trapped in the dark with my beautiful, terrible memories. I stared at the white boards until the bright lights slowly burned my tired eyes. The psychological wall was completely shattered. I did not want to escape anymore. I pulled my knees to my chest and began to sing a soft, sweet lullaby to the empty, quiet air. I sang the song perfectly, remembering every single word I used to sing to my beautiful Lily. The forbidden door was finally open, and my mind was permanently, beautifully broken. I will wait in the dark basement forever, singing to a ghost, until the shadows finally take me home.